So my last newsletter, which contained my 100% accurate Conor McGregor versus Donald Cerrone prediction, I casually mentioned that Nate Diaz is a piss poor, terrible striker. And I got a number of people who asked me about that and wanted to know why I felt that he was a terrible striker, because everyone seems to think that Nate Diaz is really good. So I've decided to explain myself. Number one, the reason why people like Nate Diaz is because he does dumb shit like this, and he gives people the middle finger, and he holds his hands in the air, and occasionally he'll slap people, and people just like seeing that. It's like I don't know. I don't know why people like seeing that. I guess they like seeing people be rude to Donald Cerrone, who just sits there and looks internally conflicted. And Nate Diaz did beat the crap out of Donald Cerrone, in large part because Cerrone also has a pretty simplistic fighting style. So the first thing you'll notice about Nate Diaz is whether he's throwing a bitch slap. I can't even tell if that's a bitch slap or if he's throwing a hook. He's constantly dropping his elbows in. He never has the mass of his forearm aligned behind his hook, and therefore he very rarely throws a powerful hook. He throws some good distance on this thing, and yeah, again, people seem to love the fact that he slaps people, but he's never really doing a lot of damage with that. Again, he absolutely murdered Donald Cerrone, but you know, if we look at Donald Cerrone's reactions to a lot of Nate Diaz's combinations, like what is he doing here exactly? He's not parrying. He's not moving his head. He just kind of stands in one place and eats various 1-2s. Now, if you look at Nate Diaz's 1-2, which, spoiler alert, actually represents 95% of his combinations. By the way, this is his highlight reel. I pulled the highlight reel, then I pulled his fight against Rafael Dos Anjos, and the vast majority of this highlight reel, the best stuff that he does, is all a bunch of 1-2s. Now, when he throws that one, his other hand is never at his face. It's chest level or below. When he throws the 2, this hand is always pulled down to the waist. And even worse, the other hand is always pulled down to the waist. He does not ever throw a combination where he will pull either of his punches back to his face. Now, you can get away with that every now and again if you're looking to max out your distance on a random 1-2 punch. You can pocket your hands a little bit, because the more you pull one hand back, the more you can extend the other. Just, it's physics. It's counterbalancing. But if this is your tendency on all of your 1-2s, there should be a number of ways that you can exploit that horrible tendency. Namely, number one, if you know that the dude's going to throw a 1-2, just throw something over the top of his one punch. You know he's not going to pull his hand back to his face, so anytime your fist manages to make its way to his head, you know that it's going to be undefended. But he throws his hands in the air. He's so crazy. Look at Cerrone. Again, what is his defense to this combination? He holds his hands out like this. That's exactly how he got knocked unconscious by Conor McGregor this past fight. If this is your defensive tendency, a guy like Nate Diaz will look like a great striker. Throws 1-2s, throws horrible hooks behind it. Again, every single time he throws the 1, where does it go? Oh, down to the waist. He throws the 2. Where does it go? Down to the chest. Both hands essentially down. Same deal on every single punch. Here's another Nate Diaz hook. This jab, I would give it a 7 out of 10 as far as jabs go. I don't know why this guy isn't doing anything to defend it. I don't know what's wrong with that guy. It's not a fast jab. Here we have, again, Nate Diaz throwing big, ugly, looping hook. And I don't know what that was, but it missed. But he raises his hands in the air, and he talks some shit. Oh, my gosh. He slaps Conor McGregor. Horrible punches. Nah, that's actually a respectable hook to the body here. All right? That's the best hook that I've ever seen Nate Diaz throw. If Benson Henderson was doing anything other than looking at his feet, maybe he would have had the wherewithal to pull his hands back and block it. Now, what is this next punch? Again, you have the Nate Diaz elbow drop hook. Put the mass of your punch behind that, and you might actually have some knockout power. And what's the next punch? Dear God, he actually flares his wrist backwards. Look at this. What is that? That's the sloppiest hook I've ever seen in my entire life. He could have knocked Benson Henderson out and had a ton of extra power and speed in that hook if he threw it appropriately. Here's Donald Cerrone with his favorite fucking punch defense, which is to just push his hand straight out in front of him. You're making Nate Diaz look like a superstar. Where are the defenses? It's a 1-2. You could parry both punches with the same hand. You could parry one punch, parry the other. Parry the first punch and slip. Bing, bing, bing. How's that for a Nate Diaz counter? 1, you parry. 2, you slip. 3, you know both of his hands are going to be down at his waist. Bing, bing, boom. Throw an uppercut. Bing, bing, boom, boom. Throw an uppercut and a hook. Throw an uppercut and a leg kick. 100% of that is going to land because he's not even in a position to defend it. Now, he does throw rear slips sometimes. There's a rear slip example for you right there. 1, 2, rear slip. All right, so this is his preferred means of incorporating some amount of defense to that 1-2. If he happens to see something else coming in the midst of it, he'll pull his head out. Oh, he'll point at you. 1-2. Sloppy. Both hands down. Ridiculous. There's... I think maybe when Nate Diaz was coming up, there were much more low-level strikers in the UFC, but this ain't a hard game to figure out. Oh, he flexed his muscles. This is after Conor McGregor had already been hurt. And again, it's a series of 1-2s. What was that? What is that? What is that? Does anybody want to tell me what the F this is? That's your hook? What is that? This is why Nate Diaz is a terrible striker. He is a man of few combinations. Jabs, 1-2s, and the occasional, super incredibly rare left-hand lead. It almost never happens. And even when it does happen, the defense is the same. The same parries and the same slips make a left-hand straight punch lead miss. And God forbid it's followed by a piss-poor, terrible hook. Guess what, guys? You think he might be going for a 1-2? Let's see. Oh! He faked the 1, and he threw a 2. And he rear slipped. Huge shocker in the Nate Diaz striking montage. Oh, but he crossed his arms. I forgot. He's so lovable. He's so lovable. He crossed his arms. 1-2. 1-2. 1, 1, 1-2. 1, 1. 1, 1, 1-2. What is this one? What is this punch? 1-2. He doesn't even know where he's throwing it from. Oh, it was an attempted slap. 1, 1. Oh my gosh, you're so crazy. That was actually a respectable counter. So this is McGregor actually trying to take advantage of his tendency. He was trying to parry this hand out of the way. Unfortunately, the jab caught him, and it completely negated any distance that he had on that counter. Piss poor hooks. Just horrible. Horrible. You have the guy against the cage doing nothing, and this is what you're throwing? That's what you're throwing? Another 1-2. Another 1-2. Holy shit! I am in disbelief. He finally threw a left-hand lead to the body and followed it by a just god-awful hook. 1-2. And here's where you actually see the effect of subpar striking. So here you have Nate Diaz versus, looks like Gray Maynard in there. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21. 21. It took him 21 undefended and unanswered strikes to actually finally get a stoppage out of Gray Maynard because these punches are poor. His elbow drops on every hook. These punches are just technically terrible. You have a man of horrible tendencies. Number one, you have the tendency to throw the lead hand first. Any hook or overhand over the top is going to crush that. And again, any follow-up strike will probably also land since his tendency is to throw a 1-2 and have both of his hands down at the waist. You have a rear slip tendency, so I would consider throwing some head kicks after his 1-2 combinations as well. You have the tendency to drop the hands down to the waist. And other than that, what else is there? Have I missed something? That's Nate Diaz's striking style. Oh, and he slaps people. So let's go ahead and take a look now at his fight against Rafael dos Anjos, who was a champ. Seems to be on the downslope of his career. But again, check this stuff out on UFC Fight Pass. You know, go ahead and go back and watch a bunch of Nate Diaz stuff. And you base your own opinions on that. The entire repository of all combat sports is available on the UFC Fight Pass. I personally love it. So let's see if we notice anything that we've already seen 100 million times out of Nate Diaz. Holy shit, maybe the slowest switch kick I've ever seen. He snaps the jab. He snaps the jab. Big leg kick. Take note of Nate Diaz's entries as well. He's certainly a taller guy. Now that's the one counter that we saw him actually effectively use a couple of times. As he's falling back, he does kind of this version of the fadeaway hook here. And that's really well executed. That's really well executed. Just pulls his hand or his head out of the range of that. And as Dos Anjos continues to come forward, bink, he drops this fadeaway hook. Now again, if he had any technical prowess or his elbow behind that shot at all, it could have had a very different effect. There is the sloppy 1-2. And again, look at the size of any of his entries. Some of the steps that he takes, I mean, he's just nowhere close. Dude, you gotta jab your way in there a little bit. With this obvious entry, this huge entry, RDA just got to back up. As long as he has space behind him, all he ever has to do is back up. Pretty effective defense, it's just hard to counter all the time if you're backing up constantly. Just awful hands. Big kick. Hands constantly down, which I'm guilty of as well. I mean, not only does he throw kind of sloppy, obvious jabs, when he's inside, what is he doing? He doesn't know how to punch inside. He just got clubbed upside the head. The only time that he knows how to punch is when he's at this ridiculous distance that he'll almost never be able to maintain. No, that's not entirely true. It depends on if people are able to enter on him. And since he's got some of the worst stumbling footwork I've ever seen, I can't imagine that it's going to be all that hard to cut off his angle. Look at this. One-twos, and then has absolutely nothing in close. So the tendencies now hold true. We're sitting here watching him in a fight, and as evidenced by his highlight reel, oh my God, I'm actually shocked that his rear hand is up while his front hand is punching. But look at this. Good position for that, too. Oh, maybe that's why your punches are always so fucking weak, Nate. You don't know how to punch. Blasted by that leg kick. So we're going to keep watching this for just another minute or two. I think I've already made the point that I'm going to make pretty sufficiently. 1-2 and a horrible slappy 3. Eats a big leg kick. Another 1-2. Huge shocker. Will he throw another 1-2? Oh my God. He threw a 2. Oh! Huge deviation from his style. He went from the other straight punch every single time to that straight punch. What the fuck was that? Pardon my language. What is that? What is that? Is he slap fighting in there? He's slap fighting with Rafael Dos Anjos. Same shit. Eats a big kick. Now that one hurt him. So anytime you see somebody take a kick and they bounce around a little bit, they're testing to see what their leg feels like, having now taken that kick on top of the 5 kicks before it. So he actually switches his stance for a second here. He's like, maybe I can fight orthodox for a second. Boom! And then he eats a kick to the body, tries to go for a takedown here, doesn't get it. Okay? And now he's again back to orthodox. And this is exactly what I do when people switch to a stance that I know they're not comfortable in. Send another leg kick in there. If he ain't shielded in his southpaw stance, he sure as hell isn't shielded in his orthodox stance. And now he realizes he's got to switch back so he can actually throw his god-awful 1-2s. Like, people think this guy is good. I don't get it. But he gives people the middle finger. So here's where I'll leave it. Here you have Nate Diaz, completely flat-footed, throw a huge entry out onto his heel. It looks like he's throwing another 1-2. Nope, he just threw the 2. Huge shocker. Except he shocked even himself. He throws this punch, and his hand is below his knee. This, of course, leads him to go stumbling forward and then get tossed to the floor by a cement job. And now he's got Rafael Dos Anjos on top of him. And RDA's got better jiu-jitsu than Nate Diaz. So, yeah. That's all I'm going to say about Nate Diaz. Have a great weekend.
Boom. And again, he sets it up. Boom. Again, on the nose that time. And again, that one on the eye. And then another one. He does, and he showed with a on his shoulder. He fought of any options like fight Richards. He throws the left hand and too. So here it is. He throws the left hand and misses. Now watch the clinch. Now watch this. Boom. And again, he sets it up. Boom. Again, on the nose that time. And again, that one on the eye. And then another one.
That's what did it right there.
I mean, he's hitting him with the collarbone. He's hitting him with his shoulder. And then that high kick lands right on the jaw. Donald's in big, big trouble. Let's see it again. Clips him right on the jaw.
Yeah, right over the guard, man. Beautiful kick there from Conor McGregor.
Just phenomenal performance.
Everybody worried about that left hand, and he comes out and does that.
And just beats him down here. The king is